Welcome back everybody to JDM Legends presented by Turn 14 Distribution. In today's episode, we show you how to wreck a bone stock R34 GTR. That's right, everybody. The day that most of you have been waiting for is here. It is time we start working on the GTR, but those of you that have not been following along, shame on you. This is a part of our JDM Legends series, and that means that this R34 GTR is going to be doing battle, a track battle, against Dave's Mark IV Supra. Notice I didn't say MKIV, because a lot of you Supra guys got super triggered.
It's the A80, bro. You gotta say A80, not Mark IV. There's no such thing as a Mark IV.
It's a Mark IV Supra.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't even care because guess what? The moment has come, GTR time. And there's been a lot of internal struggle for me lately because the R34 GTR market has exploded. The price of these vehicles has gone through the roof since we bought it. We bought it almost 2 years ago at 75K Canadian, 60,000 US dollars. Can you believe it? This was a 60,000 US dollar car. And at that point, we thought it was an expensive buy, but boy, oh boy, was it a bargain now. And that brings me to this thing being all stock. So this is essentially a collector grade car. It has 107,000 kilometers on it. It is bone stock, and now I am going to go ruin it by modifying it. And I thought about, maybe we could try to source another GTR that wouldn't be as mint as and as cherry as this one. But the truth of the matter is, the pricing the way it is, I could not find anything to replace this for a similar price. However, I do have a plan to not devalue this car, and let me show you what that includes. And this right here is another RB26 motor, and this is my plan to keep the R34 as original as possible. I'm actually going to swap this engine into it and use it to modify and do all our track testing with, rather than risk the original motor in there. I wanna make sure that that thing is still considered as stock as stock can be. It's not gonna see any higher boost or anything like that. We're just gonna yank that guy out, swap this thing in, and the goal of this build is to make sure to keep everything reversible, which is going to be more of a bolt-on build. So what I have done is turn to a bunch of companies. For example, Garrett Motion, I've got a set of their GT, I think they're 2860Rs. So these are a bolt-on turbo through ATP turbo actually. So we're gonna be using a bunch of Tomei parts and as well as some Greddy stuff on the engine side. So that's gonna be the plan, which means it is now time to get to work on dropping the engine out of the R34. For those of you with a keen eye, you will notice that RB26 that I have does not have the red valve cover, which means it is not out of an R34. It is actually an R33 engine, which means we are going to need to drop the oil pan on this one and swap it over to that car, because this is a 6-speed manual where the R33s were a 5-speed, and the front diff, which is encased in the oil pan, has a different ratio. And if we were to run that, things would start blowing up very quickly. This engine also could use a refresh. So if we were, kind of going for a full restoration, it would need to have the valve covers redone. You can see there's a bunch of oxidization. This stuff is like ready for the vapor honer. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be cleaned up. So thankfully, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use that engine and just refresh everything on there. And who knows, in 5 years when these become, or 4 years when these become US legal, maybe we'll swap this thing back to stock, clean it up and put it on Bring a Trailer, and then we'll shoot a video series then. But for now, it is a full go time. I've got the white gloves out again. Make sure I treat this car with the respect it deserves. And the first thing we're gonna do is drop the under tray and have a look and see if we've got a leaking mess under here. So post in the comments, or just tell yourself what you think. Is this thing gonna look really wet, or is it gonna be pretty pristine under here? And by the way, behold what is. Like, look at this piece of an under tray or diffuser. Like, wow, man, this is super, super cool to see. I am disappointed to see what's going on here. Somebody was not using any care and was just over torquing these bolts to Kingdom Come, and it's like flattened out the plastic here. So even when I take this off, you'll see these holes are gonna, or the plastic is just gonna be pancaked. Like, look at that. That is not what you're supposed to do. Man, I couldn't even get this guy completely out here. Look at it. It's just been like jammed in there so badly. Like, it's essentially destroyed that holder there. But again, super neat diffuser under tray. And let's have a look. Wow, it looks good, good. I'm happy to say I don't see any major leaks here, which is really, really nice. And once again, there is a ton of this orange goop that the Japanese seem to love to use on like coolant hoses. You can see there's a ton of it here. And apparently as well in your center diff right here, because you can see that was covered. But otherwise it's looking pretty good. There's a bit of oil there. Hopefully that's not from a blown axle. The struggle right now is we are, you know, getting started on this vehicle, and getting parts is going to be difficult. So I've kind of ordered everything I've needed from a modification standpoint, but any maintenance stuff may be tricky to get. So I'm crossing my fingers a lot of the stuff on here is going to be reusable. Now before we get into dropping this motor, we do need to drain a lot of the fluids out of this thing. And in typical fashion, we're going to see what this engine oil looks like. Not bad, actually. Yeah, it doesn't smell burnt. Doesn't look...
Yeah, but how does it taste, BC?
Too dirty. I'm gonna save that for somebody else. I value my life a little too much these days to be tasting motor oil, but this is also a good sign here. I think for the most part, this GTR has been well taken care of. Oh, wow. More of that silicone. Look at that. Yikes.
Man, they put a ton of it on there.
They just like, oh, I feel like everybody thinks every
More
bolt,
is better.
no, every bolt is gonna leak.
Wow, that fluid looks fresh though.
Yeah, it does. So post in the comments, guys, let me know. I by any means am no GTR expert. What fluid should I be running in the gearbox here? OEM stuff, or, you know, like Redline or whatever. I'm gonna try to separate the twin downpipes from the turbo elbows. There's a considerable amount of rust on the studs, but oh man, looks like one has gone here. Let's see, is it this? It looks like the stud's coming out. Had to switch out to a 1/2-inch drive, and as you can see, the man-sized extension here to get to that front one. It is buried in there, but you know what? The access, I'm gonna say, is better than most BMWs, so I'm not gonna do any complaining here. I think, you know, it's certainly cramped, but so far so good. Something is still holding it on in the back, DP. There must be another hanger somewhere, right? Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's just the front now. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, it's on the turbos, yeah. So, holy smokes. Maybe they don't. Okay. There we go. Oh. Hold on. Front pipe is caught. It's coming. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Wow. Let's put this thing on the ground. I can see why the GTR sounds as quiet as it does. We've got a big cat here. We've got a resonator here going to a massive muffler in the back. This system by no means is junk. Like it's actually in decent shape. It does have like that typical rust buildup on a lot of the thin not gaskets, but brackets, yeah, around here and there, and some of the flanges. But overall, like if we clean this up, gave it I think a good spit shine, it would work pretty well. However, I am ditching all of this for some Tomei titanium goodness, which I'll show you in a future episode. with the front bumper off here. Wow, what a sight to see in terms of the engineering that has gone into this beast. But first, let's have a closer look at something. You know you're royalty, you know you're the ultimate car when your shock absorbers have your logo. Look at this, GTR logo on the shocks, which is impressive. And then there's this weird bushing isolator here. I don't exactly know what it is, but usually your control arm would have like a full one-piece design. This is split into two, which is the first that I've ever seen. I think it's just
like four-wheel steer type thing?
I don't think so, man. I think it's just for isolation, so it takes up some of the road noise. It looks like a bushing to me here.
Weird.
So, because the four-wheel steers, all that stuff is jammed in the back, and you can see there's a conventional. It almost looks like a ball joint, right? You'd have a ball joint on the top of the hub there. So
yeah,
super neat. But check this out. So this is not one DP, but two blow-off valves.
That's impressive.
Look at this, mounted off to the side, super cool. And the discharge pipe, this is where things get crazy. So the discharge goes down here, runs along here, then goes into this plastic tube that runs underneath the intercooler, over here, and back into this tube, and then goes back up here. Like,
wow,
that is next level. Like, there's just so much cool engineering done here. The intercooler is this amazing cast end tank piece right here. Like, I just love the way it turns. However, you're talking about building a response monster, and look at the size of this hot side piping. That is just kind of goes against everything that we've been talking about.
That's 90s lag, bro. That's 90s
Maybe,
lag.
man, but that is a large diameter pipe. So
you know what Nissan did? They over-engineered this car, PT. The more I look at it, the more I think, holy cow, they threw every trick in the book of this thing.
I agree, man. Like, it's just, we're just unearthing so many things. There's so many like braces here. I feel like this, this was their Halo car, so it was over-engineered, and there's just like so much gone into trying to like keep this thing quiet, and we're gonna do the opposite of that. We're gonna pull all this stuff out and make this thing roar. I think it's safe to say that this car has not been a part recently or ever on the hot side here. So much of the rubber couplers were fused to the aluminum. Like, it was, as you guys probably just saw in that time lapse, it was such a struggle to get this stuff off. Like, it has not been off recently. And the peculiar thing here is the heat shields on the manifolds are quite rusty. So I wasn't expecting to see that, but I suppose it's kind of a normal thing. If there's moisture, some of these do rust like this. It's not uncommon. I think the R33 engine has better ones, so we're in good shape on that.
We've been thinking about ways of protecting the fenders or really any body panels when we're working on this car, because we don't want to damage the paint. The paint is really, really good on this car. I think it's probably one of the highlights of its condition. You can't find a stone chip on this thing anywhere. And we noticed John and the guys at BMS Tuning, just up the road from us where we go to use their dyno, use this film. John calls it crash film, although I think on the box it said like weather protective film or something like that. It's from Sherwin-Williams. Not inexpensive. This roll was like $100 Canadian, but it's 100 feet long, so we can cover a lot with it. And it's tacky on the backside, and it's thick enough that, like a protective film would be, we can cover panels with it. And if my belt buckled or something were to rub on it, it should protect the paint. So I'm just going to try it out here and see how it works. It's a bit awkward doing that one thing. Just got it tacked on there, and just gonna see if this razor blade will do the job.
I need a
Two-person team here, DP.
Kind of. It's tough film though, which is good. And then we can use some of this leftover maybe on the headlights, or?
Yeah, the headlights definitely need covering.
Throw that on the headlight.
Curse the guy that used all of the silicone on the coolant hoses. This hose here took me like 10 minutes to get off because there's just so much silicone and essentially it's fused on. Now I'm trying to pull this lower hose and you can see, same thing, it's just on there, like the hose clamp is off and I'm trying to turn it and it's just like, look at the whole engine moves. This thing doesn't come off. It's like, oh my God. Are they that worried about coolant seeping through this with like hoses? I just don't get the notion of using silicone in these areas because it creates a situation like this where now you gotta take this off and I would have had the rat out already, but I'm battling with this.
Well, first of all, this plastic on the fenders, good investment. And second of all, PT, can we just admit right now that the Supra has already won in terms of ease of access to anything? Like mechanically working on the Supra has just been so easy and such a pleasure, where this already has been a battle royale. Like you getting heater or rat hoses off, me getting fuel lines off. Now I'm trying to get the heater hoses off, and the clamps are tiny and in little inaccessible places and on a plastic joiner that we're afraid to break because how do you get a part for that? Man, I've heard people complain about GTRs being hard to work on, and at first I was like, this is gonna be cake. It's, you know, it's like a new car, but has not been cake, everybody. This thing is a struggle to work on.
No, yeah, and I think to be fair, because this car is all stock, there is a bit of a, you know, an old factor to it, which means nothing's been touched.
Yeah.
Which is good, but in this situation bad because it seems like it just took me 20 minutes to take the belts off, you know, like we're gonna be here for days getting this motor ready to drop, which is really, really crummy.
I feel myself aging from this process. And if it has been touched, it's been touched by a mechanic who put like 1,000 pounds of sealant on everything, so it's a struggle to get off.
It's tough. But you know what, DP? It's got ITBs, right? That's just gonna fix everything because ITBs on a turbo car, I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, it is cool, although this spring is too strong.
I am on Team RB, DP, but you know what? Like some things here just confuse me. Look at this. So the way they have mounted the AC compressor is, instead of using one long bolt like most manufacturers would do and run it through here, they've used two. Okay, so you've got two short bolts. You got one here and then you got one here, which now makes it a pain in the butt to try to get any type of socket in there. I'm hoping I can get this guy in here and now start turning it. Yeah, so, and watch, it's torqued to kingdom come because it is probably factory spec. Like I said, a lot of this has not been off. Oh.
You're gonna smash your hand when it does.
Or I'm gonna crack the housing here.
Yeah.
Because I can't really see if I'm like up against the housing here or not. So
power steering pump's in the way. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so anyways, we're not very far into this job. However, from a time perspective, it has been very, very long. Oh my goodness, it's spinning. I see what's happening here. Look at this. Okay, come have a look here. Okay, see, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but if you look, there's like a little ear, a tag on the backside, right over there. When I spin this, it also is moving, see?
Yep.
So, I can't loosen this until you turn it all the way one way, and it stops, and then hopefully, right there, it should stop now, and it's super, there it goes, and then it loosens. Like again,
Why?
Why, Nissan? Why you gotta do this to me? Like one bolt, one long bolt would have been fine. We are just in the middle of removing a lot of the electrical connections, including the harness that's on the RB, and I've run into a slight problem, and that is the injector clips have this like retaining metal clip, I guess, as well on it, and every time I try to pull it off, it looks like it's gonna break the tab here that holds this metal clip in place. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a non-destructive way because we don't want to break these. I want to make sure we can retain these for that OEM goodness in the future. So post in the comments, let me know if you guys have a sure way to remove those. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the fuel rail and pop the injectors out for now. And with those out, I think it'll be easier for me to kind of like finagle and disconnect them rather than try to do this like this, because it could prove to break one of them very easily. So I think this is for sure the best way to remove this clip, because now you can see I can come in with a screwdriver on the side and lift it over just as such, rather than before. What's happening is when these are mounted in place, all you can kind of do is come in like this, and you can see if you push hard enough, you're gonna snap that tiny little piece of plastic that holds them in. And now with this, I can just come in with the screwdriver, lift up and over. So it's a minor bit of extra work to pull the fuel rail there, but it was only like less than 5 minutes. And would you look at that, and now I have myself a connector that is unmolested. Kind of going into a side topic here, personal health wise, I haven't been to a skin doctor yet, and you know what, I figured we share a lot of stuff with you guys. Check this out. So I have this weird problem with my hands peeling constantly. You can see the skin is just like coming off there, and it happens on both hands in many places. You can see this one's like really bad. You can kind of like go in there, look at that. The skin just kind of tears off. And I don't know why. So at first I thought I was like allergic to latex or something, that the latex gloves were causing that. And that wasn't the case. I stopped using latex gloves. That's why you can kind of see me wearing cloth gloves. I've been trying that for a while, but that doesn't seem to be the case either. I'm sure it's related to fluid or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe this is like
chemicals. You mean chemicals around here, right?
Yeah, maybe chemicals, or maybe it's like a fungal thing. I don't know.
I know what it is, PT.
Well, it's
hand herpes.
Come on, God, buddy. Don't tell me that. My hands have been in a lot of dirty places, so. But all jokes aside, if you guys, have an answer for me before I head to the doctor and blow a couple days on that, we're trying to get episodes done. Post in the comments letting me know if you suffer from this similar stuff. Sadly, we are gonna have to wrap this episode. It is Friday at 6 o'clock. We had hoped to have this engine out by now, but we have an episode to get to you guys tomorrow. So that means this one is done. In the next one, we will end up yanking this motor, getting through it. And the plan probably is to drop the gearbox before we yank the engine. But we just wanted to give a huge shout out to Turn 14. Thank you so much for supporting this series. And if you guys don't know who Turn 14 is, they are one of the largest distributors of automotive parts. And a lot of the parts you'll see in this build, you can get at Turn 14. So that means go to your local vendor, tell them if they're not using Turn 14, what are they doing? Also, check out their online magazine called Pit and Paddock. They are producing a ton of really cool content. I'll post a link in the description and up in the top right corner to their YouTube channel. Seriously, there's a lot of cool stuff. And Turn 14 also hosts events. They're over now, but they have like a Cars and Coffee meet every year in their Horsham, Philadelphia location. And it's a great event. So check all that stuff out, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the GTR content, make sure to like and make sure to subscribe. Oh, you know what it is too? This bracket is our problem.
Oh yeah.
I took it off in the wrong spot. I loosened it there, but it does need to come off there, so hang tight here.